now. Awesome. Okay, so we're opening up our webinar, I struggle talking sometimes. Our PowerPoint on placements. And I was talking about building for rank. You know, up through the rank of elite, you just need volume. So the first rank in doTERRA is manager, and you need 500 OV, which means you and anybody on your team is doing goes to your OV. So if you have 500, you're a manager. Then it moves to, if you have 1,000, you're a director. And then it moves to, okay, if you have 2,000, you're executive, and 3,000, you're elite. And it does not matter where anything is structured. Now, that being said, it's still important that you structure with your end goal in mind. If you want to maximize what you're getting paid and you want to get paid the most off of your volume and your sales, it's going to be important that you structure wisely. So I like to structure for rank. So one thing that I talk about in doTERRA is always building for, is you want to create elites like with our program, but have a premier factory. So always have people structuring for the next rank. So I like to structure for rank instead of power of 3. You know, sometimes we think I'm going to put people on my front line so I get my $50 bonus. And that's okay. But you want to make sure that when you put people on your front line, they're people who are building the business. Because if they're not as invested in always doing their 100. And I have had people who have consistently done their LRP of 100 or more for 3 years, and all of a sudden they stop. And then if they're not building the business, they're like, well, I don't need to keep doing 100. It's fine if I do 85. And it is fine if they do 85 for them. But if they're in a spot where you needed somebody ordering for power of 3, it will make things trickier. So that's why I always say build for rank and only leave people on your front line who want to build the business. And then you'll notice, oh, wow, I left my frontline spots open for people who want to build. And now look at this, I have my power of 3. So I always tell people to structure for premier, and I'll go into what that looks like in just a minute, and then figuring out what you need to do to get to the next rank. You know, I have a girl on my team who's a visual learner, and she literally got circles of sticky contact paper that you might line like your cupboards or your drawers with. And she put them on her wall, and those represented the different people on her team. And she drew what volume she needed each one of those people on her team at. So we're going to keep moving forward. And actually what I want to do is I want to switch and look at the new share. We're going to share the launch guide now. Okay. So we're going to look to see real quick what the launch guide says for placements. Okay, so I need to go to page, here we go. Okay, here's the page on placements. So launch to elite. So here's a picture of you, and I wanted to use this because it's a really good visual. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out is anytime that you start the business, it's always good to have conversations when you're enrolling people to find out what their intentions are so that you know where to place them accordingly on your team. Because if you're just guessing or just assuming like, oh, they don't have money to build, or oh, they don't have time to build, or oh, I think they're going to be a great builder, but you've never had those conversations with them. You know the saying, what happens when you assume, it makes an ass of you and me. So you want to make sure that you're not assuming too much and that you're actually having conversations with people about what they want to do with their business. Now, in this launch guide, in the business guide, so the one that you talk about before the launch guide, you can talk about the 3 different pathways that you can choose with doTERRA. So you can talk about, okay, are you somebody who just wants to use the oils and enjoy them and love them and have a discount for your family? Are you somebody who wants to have the oils pay for themselves? You want to earn a little bit of extra money, but primarily your goal is to have the oils pay for themselves. Or are you somebody who really wants to supplement your income? Maybe you want to start making $2,000 a month so you can make your house payment or your car payment, or your house and your car payment. Or are you a person who wants to go big with this and create amazing, amazing success, like full-time, replace your income? You need to find out what each person on your team does. And a great time to find this out is, you start getting a sense for it at the wellness consult, and following the launch guide is really going to help you in your placements. So you're going to enroll somebody, and then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to do a wellness consult with them, and you're going to invite them to host a class. If they're not even willing to host a class, that's probably not going to be somebody that you would want to put on your front line. That's probably somebody that you would want to put in, one of these number 2 or 3 positions, or below, because you're going to be able to fill in volume where you need it, if that makes sense. So you definitely don't want to put people in, you know, like if someone's not even willing to host a class, you're going to put them farther down. If they're willing to host a class, get their class set up within, if you can get their class set up as soon as possible, like within the first 2 weeks, that's great, because then you have an opportunity to talk with them about the business. And then you know what their intentions are. And after I do a class with somebody, we go through the build guide together, and I talk and I share the business opportunity, and I ask them, you know, what they would like to create with doTERRA. And then I can even put a little number by their name. Like, are they committed and capable builder? Are they committed or a capable builder or sharer? Or are they more of a sharer or customer? And you'll notice you can put a number by their name so that you know, okay, anybody who's a number one, that's who I want on my front line. That's somebody who's committed and capable. You will find people who are committed, and doTERRA may not be something that is a strong suit for them, and that's okay. They still have a place on your team. So if they're committed or they're capable, you could put them as a number two, but maybe not both. Like if they're really committed, but maybe doTERRA, you don't think that this is going to, you don't see them being a presidential diamond, you could label them as number two. And then maybe you see that they're not committed, but they're very, very capable, that you're like, man, if they would do this business, they could be awesome. You would still put them as a number two. You would not put them as a number one. Now, if there's someone that's like, well, I mean, I'll share here or there, or I'm in at least order every month, that they're going to be a number three. So number one is your amazing builders. Number two is your people who they're going to do this, but they may not have the time as much, or they may not be as committed. And then your number threes are going to be your casual sharers or your customers. So you want to make sure that you are having conversations with them so that you can decide where they need to go on your team. And I tell people that. I say, you know what? I want to get up, make sure I'm on the same page with you so that I get you in the perfect spot for you on my team, because I want to make sure that you're not feeling frustrated or feeling pressure, but that you're also getting the support that you need to grow your business the way that you would like. So, you know, I always like to present the options, and you need to tell me what's best for you. Not necessarily what I want to hear, what you think's best for me, but what's best for you so that we can get you like perfectly supported. So after we have our conversation about, you know, what they want to do with the business, I kind of just assign a number in my mind. Now, when you first start the business, you want to find one person to put on your front line, and you're going to put everybody under that person until you feel like this is a stable leg. This leg is going to be able to hit elite, and we're even structuring them for premier. So what we're doing is we signed up this person right here, and we put their two builders on their front line. Then you're going to start like the next person that you sign up after that, who is just as committed or more than your builder, you're going to start a second leg. You don't want to start a second leg because you think you found someone or somebody might be good at this eventually. You're going to put someone as your second person because they are committed and they are a rock star. So I always say you start your second leg after your first leg is solid, hitting either executive or elite, like hitting it every single month, or you find another builder that you're like, wow, they are a rock star. They're a solid number one. Then you start your second leg. And then as I am continuing to enroll, I decide where to put them based on, and they've changed this up a little bit, but I think like, okay, so you know what? It would be nice if people in my neighborhood could all support each other, because I can do classes, they'll get together, they'll feel like they're on the same team. So anybody that I enroll from my neighborhood, I'm going to put under this builder right here. I'm going to put people under this person who I feel like they're going to get along, and they're going to create a really fun community for each other. Now, anybody from my team that's in Texas, if I enroll another person in Texas, I'm going to put them under this second leg right here, because they're going to get better support from people in Texas because they live in Texas. So I always think about, and I'm going to switch now, some of the questions that I need to switch. Hang on a second. I'm always technically challenged when it comes to this. Okay, so we're going to share again. And now we're going to go back to, come on, we're going to go back to, oh, I need to open it so it can give me this option. I apologize, you guys. I'm trying to get this to work for me, because I'm going to show you the reasons I like to put people together on a team. Let me just do a general screen share. Nobody texts me any naked pictures of themselves because everybody will see it. Share screen. I'm just going to do my desktop because then it will be better. So hopefully you can see everything on my screen. Okay. So we're going to now open up. Okay. There's my recording from my really brief meeting earlier. And now we're going to open up the PowerPoint. Okay. I apologize. Here is my rules for placing builders 1 through 3. So you're going to put your number 1 builders up front, and it's like level them. If they're a number 2 builder, you're going to put those people on your second line. And if they're just casual builders or sharers, you're going to put those on your third line. If they're wellness customers, here's the thing with wellness customers. You cannot put them on, you can put them wherever you like. You just can't put anybody below them. So I would never keep a wellness customer on your front line because that's not going to do you any good. I would also not put a wellness customer on the front line of anybody who is serious about building the business because that's not going to do them any good. I would put them under like your if you have like a casual share, like a number 3, put your wellness customer under them, and you could put 3 on their front line, and then the next person who's a casual builder, you could put 3 on their front line or whatever it is. You can help have them fill in your power of 3, but I would not put them on your first or second level because it will be more difficult to get your power of 3, and they're not building. Now, they can upgrade at any time, and then once they upgrade, you can move them to where you want them. But as a wellness customer, you just want to make sure they're not in a super important place for building. So open up this chat. With the new wholesale account, you cannot put anybody below them. If they're a wellness advocate, you can. If they're a wellness customer, you cannot. Now, and for me, to be honest with you, I'm going to still encourage people to be wellness advocates because I feel like it's the same price. They are giving out their social security number. If that's a hang up for them, then I will have them be a wellness customer. Because honestly, it's the same price, same everything, and it will just make structuring a little bit easier if they're a wellness advocate. But if they don't want to be, we'll absolutely sign them up as a wellness customer. That's just great too. So for me, when I put people together, I always like to do like personalities together. I like to think about, okay, who would work well together? You know, these girls are both into yoga. I think they would work really well together. Or, you know what? I'm going to put my sisters together. You know, I have some builders who have put their kids as their 3 legs, which you can do that. But I like the idea of a family working together instead of, you know, being next to each other. So I like to put family together. Now, I don't like to build for my family. That doesn't mean you're going to go in and be like, okay, I'm going to build for my mom and then my sisters are her 2 legs. Unless your mom and your sisters are committed builders, don't do that because you'll be frustrated. But if your family's actively building, put them together so they can support and work with each other. And then I put together people by region. So it's like, you know, I live in Missouri right now, and I would like to put my Missouri people with other Missouri people so that they are getting support that they need instead of with Utah people where Utah people can't support them as well. So think about where do they live? Whose personalities are they like? And, you know, putting family together. So this just gives you an idea of how to create your team. Now, remember, if you have you and your front 3 people and they're all elite, you are a silver. And if you and your front 3 people are all achieving a volume of 600, you're getting your $50. So you can see why you would only want to put builders on your front line. Because if you just have consumers, you would have to build their power of 3, and then you'd have to build for them to get their 50, so you get your 250. So that's why I'd only put number 1s on your front line. You put number 2s on your second line. And number 3s below that. Now, you want to make sure you're never building for somebody. You want to make sure that you never assume like, oh, you know what, they'll be a good builder. Unless they are committed and willing to do the training, do their 100 PV LRP every month, do not treat them like a builder. That is going to be your number 1 mistake that you will make, is assuming, oh, I think they'll be good at the business. But if they're not even willing to do a qualifying LRP, and what I mean by that is placing an order, you're going to get yourself into trouble that way. So I would certainly not place them under another person. I put them on your front line. I would treat them as a customer and put them below. Now, here's the cool thing about doTERRA. So let's say that you sign somebody up and they say they're a number 3 builder and they end up being way better than your number 1. If you have their enrollership, it doesn't matter. They can still qualify you. They can still be your person. Like, let's say they hit gold, they can still qualify you for blue diamonds someday, as long as you have their enrollership. So when you move somebody below another builder, so let's say this number 3 person right here is your enrollership and you put them under your your number 1 builder right here, you want to make sure that you always keep enrollership. Do not ever give away enrollership just because you want them to get a fast start check. If you want them to get a fast start check, cut them a check. Give them money. If it's your personal enrollment, someone that you've identified, gotten to enroll, and signed up, you keep enrollership. Now, if it's somebody that they've met at a class, you give them enrollership. That's their person. But you keep enrollership because that way, if your number one person ends up really not building and your number three does, because that happens. I mean, I would have told you that I was a casual sharer or customer when I first started. And so I'm down. Here's my front line. Teresa Harding would be the circle that says you. I'm on her 4th level because I told her I'm never going to really build this business, but she kept my enrollership just the same. She's like, well, we'll see. If you do, then you could definitely qualify me for rank. So she has my enrollership, even though I'm not sponsored by her and I'm sponsored by her friend, Heather Ives. I still qualify her, which is amazing. So you want to make sure you always keep enrollership because even if they're on your 5th, 6th, 7th, 27th level, they can still be your qualifier. So then and for me, 4 of my 5 qualifiers are on my front line, but one of my qualifiers is my 2nd level. And that's actually my presidential diamond. I'm very grateful I did not give her enrollership away because I enrolled both the woman above her and Melody. I enrolled, and I'm so grateful that I didn't think, oh, I really want to help my friend so-and-so. I'm going to give Melody her enrollership because, Melody is a presidential diamond, and that would have been hard for me to be like, oh my gosh, I have a presidential diamond, but I don't have her enrollership. And the person who has her enrollership is a great builder and she's a great person, but she's chosen to state elite. So you want to make sure for sure that you always keep enrollership. So I want to go back to my PowerPoint now. And that is, and this structure kind of goes through the same thing, is that you're putting your number 1s on your front line, which would be your oranges. You're putting your number 2s on your, and here I have it labeled opposite. Your number 3s are your strong builders. Your builders that are good. So these are your leaders. And then your builders could be your number 2s. Those are your reds. And then your sharers and your customers are your purple people eaters. So that's how you're going to want to structure, and wait to start a second leg until your first leg is solid or until you find a rock star builder that is going to be your second leg. So that it's really quite simple. And as you enroll people, make sure you're doing your wellness consults, make sure you're asking those critical questions about, how to be successful. Make sure that what their goals for success are so that you can place them accordingly. Now, don't build for people. That is going to be huge. Like, I cannot tell you how important it is not to build for people because you will get so frustrated and you will end up doing all the work. And I've done this. I have made the mistake of building for people and I become resentful of them, and it has ruined friendships for me. Now, I'm being a little bit dramatic in that because I'm still friends with them, but I have people that I've done all the work, and sometimes, and it's nobody listening to this training, so don't worry, but I have people that I have literally done the business for, and it makes me frustrated because I'm thinking, wow, you're getting this check and you're not really doing much, and I'm working really hard at this. Whose fault is that? It's my fault. So that's why I say never build for someone, because if you want to help someone earn money, cut them a check. Give them a check, give them money, but don't build for them because it will become a frustration for you and it will ultimately become frustrating for them as well. And it can put strains on relationships, and that's not worth it. doTERRA has been an excellent business opportunity for me. I have loved it. I have created so many friendships, but the key is to allowing people to build at their own pace and not ever expecting, like, you need to be doing this more. You're on my front line. Unless they want to be there, don't put them there. So I only put top spots for dedicated leaders. I never build for anyone else. Let's see what this chat says. And that is a great question. If someone has proven to you, so Jerica, ask me that in just a minute because I want to answer that for sure. Oh, oops. Okay. So power of 3 is important, but wait until you have builders. So that means don't just say, okay, I have 2 really good solid builders. I'm going to put this girl right here. I'm going to put her on my front line because she's going to order every month because I want to get my power of 3. That can be super tempting, but what you really want is a power of 3 50 is awesome. A power of 3 1500 is even better. And when you wait to put a number 1 builder on your front line, you'll see this right here. It is going to be so much easier to make sure, because while they have their ones on their front line, those people are going to be getting their 3 people. So all of a sudden you're going to be looking at a 1500 power of 3 bonus. So as soon as your front line, you're getting your front line and you're ordering 600, you're getting your 50. Once all of your frontline people are getting their 50, you've got 250. So you want to make sure you've got good people on your front line that are going to get their own, because then as soon as all their people have their 50, you're at $1,500. That's a nice $18,000 a year. That's a great chunk of change to be earning. But the key to keeping that and earning that and having it be stable is making sure that the people that are in these first 9 spots for you, 12 spots, are solid builders. Now on your third level, that is where you could place some of your consumers that you think will always keep ordering. So you want to make sure that you are always placing for rank and not necessarily, I'm going to start this third leg so I can get my power of 3. Because then you're just going to be putting more and more and more people on your front line, and you're constantly going to be replacing the person that's helping you get your power of 3. So power of 3 is super important, but wait until you have builders. Now here's another thing. We already talked about keeping the strongest builders on your front line, but don't start a 4th leg too soon. You know, I have some people that are really antsy to start that 4th leg, and they're premiers or even elites. And I'm thinking, don't start your 4th leg until you're a solid gold, or you've even got your solid power of 3 in place. And I would stick with more of the solid gold. I did start a leg at silver, a 4th leg when I was a silver. Actually, the month I hit gold, I started my 4th leg, but I enrolled her when I was still a silverite, but I hit gold that month. And it was tricky because I was trying to get volume. I was trying to hit diamond, and I was trying to get all of my premiers to silver. And then I added a new person, and it was just another thing to juggle. And so make sure you are a solid gold before starting that 4th leg, because otherwise you'll look at your volume and be like, wow, if I would have combined everything, I'd be a gold. But now I have 4 elites on my front line instead of 3 premiers. So make sure you don't start a new leg too soon. Okay, and another thing is I want to make sure that I do not give more than 2 builders to a person. So let's say that I have a builder on my team. You don't want to give them all of their builders, because then they will start thinking, okay, well, when is she going to give me my next builder? And you're going to be expected to find their next builder for them. And I've even had people ask me, if you could just give me a builder, that would be really nice. And it would be nice. But do you want to know how many builders I was given? 0 builders. I've had one person placed below me, and I was instructed not to talk to her. I was like, I was told that the person who put her under me said, I'll work with her. Well, she quit ordering. She enrolled one person who does occasionally place an order. So I have one person on my team who occasionally orders 5 to 10 PV here or there, and she's down on my 5th or 6th level. That is the only person who is placed below me. And I truly believe that that's what made me a strong leader, is because I went out and found my own builders, and I did it myself. Now, that doesn't mean and sometimes giving someone a builder is absolutely just fine. But I find that my people who do this on their own, that find their own builders, are my strongest leaders, because it's like, I need to go find a builder. I'm going to go find one myself. I'm not relying and waiting for someone to find one for me. So make sure that you're not enabling your builders by giving them all 3 of their legs, because it will be difficult for them to build, because they're going to be expecting you to do the work. So, but as you find extra builders, you can't necessarily put everybody on your front line. So that's why I think, okay, who would this give a boost to right now, and that will work with them? Like, I want to put a builder under another builder who is willing to mentor them, teach classes for them, and work with them. Not somebody that I'm going to end up putting a builder under them and doing all the work for them, but someone who will take ownership of the person on their team. And then I spread my builders out. As I get a new builder, I will put them under somebody else, because I don't want anyone to ever think, oh, where's my 3rd builder? So that's another important thing to remember. And then when you're placing your customers, make sure that you want, and I put them as 0s, or according to this other way we're talking about, they're number 4s, but your people who are just customers, I don't want to put tons of customers under one person, because again, it's going to be like, oh, you built me a team. That was so nice of you. So whenever I put a customer under somebody, I always let them know, because I've actually had people get mad at me and say, please don't put people under me. I've only had it happen once, but I was like, okay, I won't put anybody else under you. But they didn't want anybody put under them. So make sure that when if, for example, I put somebody under my friend Joanna the other day, and I said, Joanna, I'm putting my friend, we'll call her Tiffany. I'm putting Tiffany under you. Would you be willing to reach out to her and introduce yourself and let her know that you're here to help guide her along her essential oil journey? And I will be helping Tiffany as well, but I'm going to let her know that you're an additional resource for her. Because the beauty of doTERRA is it's a culture. And if you feel like you've got friends and like people helping you do this, it's going to be easier to stay committed and be successful with doTERRA. So I always like to let people know I'm putting a customer on your line, on your front line, if that's okay. And you know what? I've done that, and I've turned people into builders, because they get so excited to have somebody below them that they take ownership of it. They work with them, they help them. But it's always important to tell the person to introduce the 2 people to each other, to say, hey, Joanna, meet Tiffany. Tiffany, meet Joanna. So that way, if Tiffany Joanna starts reaching out to Tiffany, Tiffany's not like, who are you? How do I know you? So you want to make sure that you make that introduction. I always put consumers in areas where I need volume. So let's say that let's go back to our our sheet. Let's say that I'm trying to hit Premier, and so I just need this green, this yellow, and this green section. I just need these two people to be each at executive, which means 2,000 each, but with a total volume of 5,000. Well, let's say that I've got a really solid elite right here that's already hitting 3,000 every month. And I've got this second leg and I'm enrolling people. Well, obviously it makes sense to put the people under that second leg so I can get my second leg at executive so that I can be hitting Premier. So I put my customers where I need the volume, which may seem, it's a fairly common sense thing, but sometimes, there can be this temptation to, I'll just put them together because they're in my neighborhood. Put the volume where you need volume for sure, and always look ahead. So these are some of my basic tips for placements. What questions do you got? There was a great question. It was Jerica asking about enrollership. When do I give enrollership? It can be tempting to sign up Jane here, who's your top builder. It can be tempting to be like, if I just get her enrollership, then she could hit Premier, and then she'll be more excited to build if I give her. Never give enrollership as a way to get someone more excited, ever. Give enrollership when somebody has earned it and proved to you that they want it. And when I said earlier, be looking ahead, what I meant by that was you want to make sure that you're thinking, okay, I've got this person right here who I think in the long run, they're actually going to be a better builder than Jane right here. Don't give their enrollership to Jane just so you can hit a rank for a couple of months. If it means waiting to hit gold for a couple of months, do it. Because otherwise you are going to be frustrated because you're like, man, this other builder, I gave builder right here, I gave their enrollership to Jane, and now Jane's not really building, and this builder's rocking it. And I found them and they're Premier, and I would be gold if I had their enrollership, but instead Jane's only volume is this person right here. So don't ever get enrollership unless, I like to say silver. When Jane is ready to hit silver, give enrollership of this builder. Now, of course, every situation is unique, and this is, again, a time to talk about this with your upline or your mentor and talk about this specifically, but I never just give enrollership just to be nice or to motivate or so somebody can get faster. I give enrollership so somebody can get silver. Now, if it does help me hit gold, then yes, I will. If I can tell that builder is solid and committed and actively doing classes and actively enrolling and actively doing their part. I never just say, if I give them enrollership, I bet they'll do this. Nope, they need to be already doing it. Okay, so what other questions do you have? Looks like I have a question right here, and you can unmute yourself as well. Any other questions? Okay, awesome, thank you. Does this make sense for everybody? Placements is always tricky, and sometimes it gets confusing because we're talking about enrollership and sponsorship and giving away enrollership and moving sponsors, and it can get confusing. So is this clear? Is this clear as mud to everybody? And if it's not, feel free to ask questions, because if you have a question, chances are somebody has the exact same question. Next week, we're going to talk about the compensation plan, which will go hand in hand with building or the placements. If you have a frontline that's not performing, that's a really great question. I am a root tapper. And what that means is it's like, okay, so maybe Jane right here isn't really building, but Shara down here is actually, we'll pretend their name's Shara. We'll call them Shara. Let's say that Shara is building and I have their enrollership. That's when I say, you know what? I'm going to help Jane. She's welcome to come to my calls. She's welcome to come to my trainings. But I'm going to really focus on Shara down here because she really wants to do this, and she's a rock star builder. And I don't really focus about the front line not building. I focus on the person in that leg who is building. So I always look to see, is there somebody in that leg that I can work with? And I've started over. I've started a new leg because I've been like, nobody in this leg is building. I'm not going to drag them there. I'm not going to build for them. I'm going to wait until I find a solid builder, and I'm going to start a new leg. Because in the long term, this is a business that we're doing that we want to be able to keep sustainable, not something that we're just doing for a few months. So if I have a frontline that's not performing, then I either work with somebody in their team that I have enrollership of, or I start a new leg. For sure. But I don't necessarily want to build for them. Like if I put someone under them that I think will be a great builder, then I'll work with them. But you don't want to ever get in the habit of building for people because you'll just become extremely frustrated. See what other questions. These are great questions you guys are asking. And like I said, you're also welcome to unmute yourself if you want to ask questions as well. Any other questions? Oh.
Hey, Jen, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Thinking about a couple possibilities. If I enroll someone in another state, is it possible to give sponsorship to a completely different group of people so that they can work with her as well?
Yeah, you can put, like, let's say you enroll someone in Tennessee and you've got a team, you don't have any other team in Tennessee. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
You can still, my sister keeps calling me. She loves me. Oh. I just think about, okay, what personalities would work together well? Because there's nobody that's geographically by them. What personalities work together well?
Right.
So did that answer your question, Tito?
Yeah. So it's completely out of our like, for example, maybe it's a group of people that's not under you, right? So they would be completely out. So I can be their enroller and someone else can be their sponsor.
They have to be on your team. They have to be under somebody who's on your team. So you can't move them to like a different, do you mean like a different team?
Right. I was thinking because there's another team out there, maybe they can support them a little. I mean, I definitely would support them.
Yes, and that is one beautiful thing about doTERRA is you still keep them under you, but you can collaborate with other teams. You have to make sure that you trust the team. In doTERRA, as a rule, I would tell you most people are awesome. I have sent people to people's classes, like on other teams, but you'll keep them on your team. If you're their enroller, they have to be sponsored somewhere under a person who's under you somewhere. But you could still send them to other teams' events. And you could reach out to the team leader and say, hey, would you be willing to welcome and work with my person? So that's what I would do for sure. Okay, so these last two questions, and then I have starting my mentoring calls again. So are there other times that we can move people outside of the 14 days? So if they become wellness advocates, and I can't remember the exact rule, I think they have to be a wellness customer for a certain amount of time, you can get them moved. Melissa, I know your situation, and I think that's an exception. doTERRA's back office was a little bit funky, so you could email me and I'll get that passed on to my account manager, because I know that was a unique situation where it wasn't giving you an option to move them. And then are we able to move people when we hit Premier? The rule used to be that when somebody hit Premier in 90 days, you could move them, but they are phasing that out. The reason they did that is because it used to be that you had 30 days to move somebody, and now you only have 14. And a lot of times it was like, well, that's not enough time to know if someone's really going to build the business. So what they did is if you found a real rock star that was going to go and hit Premier in 90 days, you could move them when they hit Premier in 90 days. They are phasing that out. And the reason they're phasing that out is because now you can sign up people as wellness customers. And if a wellness customer comes to you and says, hey, I want to build, and they've been a customer for 2 or 3 months, you can upgrade them to a wellness advocate and you can move them wherever you'd like on your team because they don't have anybody underneath them. So that's the rule. So yeah, these are really great questions. I'm really grateful that you guys are asking so much, and I appreciate you being on this morning. And next week we're going to be doing a webinar or a Zoom meeting on the compensation plan. So that will go hand in hand with this. So have your questions ready for that. Thank you so much for being on this morning. And I wish you luck in your business. And again, remember, this is a hands-on training. This isn't necessarily you have to memorize this and do it according to everything that I said. Rather, you can work with your upline person or your mentor and say, okay, where do you think I should put this person? And you can decide together. That can be a good thing. So have a wonderful day. Thank you for being on, and I will post the recording shortly.